Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is a mailbag question episode. The burning questions that people have, we shall answer them. It's been a long time since we've been answering questions. They're not really piling up, so you still have to go to the Discord and give us more questions. It's just more that some of these they're getting old, and I don't like the idea of not answering questions. We have everything from, yes, somebody's going to try to get us into a sub versus dub argument. Somebody's going to... We got anime gatekeeping. We got terms like syscon scaring away normies. We got anime piracy. Everything in this mailbag question episode, so definitely stick around. Doing well?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Are you ready for those burning questions?
Yeah.
Hopefully
they'll wake me up a bit.
Hopefully I'm ready for the burning questions. Our first one, what the fan art, like I said, is going to start us off with the sub versus dub argument. I grew up watching all anime dub in the 80s, maybe even some in the 70s, and it's what I've always been used to. Do you watch all or most of your anime in sub purely out of preference? You enjoy Japanese voice work more than the English, or more for convenience because sub released sooner, or maybe out of necessity for your vocation, that you don't fall behind other anime reviewer channels by 3 weeks, or even a full series. Series.
All of the above?
All the above. Well, I guess kicking off, yeah, our experience with dubs versus subs is, yes, of course, way back in the day. Back in the day, most of the stuff that we consume was like on television, and yes, it was dubbed. You're just not going to really be broadcasting Japanese with subtitles on, national television. So yeah, things like Dragon Ball and all that kind of stuff it was dubbed. As like we always talk about whenever we go into Dragon Ball, it's like it's almost difficult to jump into, the Japanese with subtitles because it's like, one, bless her heart, but the Goku Seiyu, holy crap, that's tough. It is tough to hear the Japanese Seiyu for Goku, at least. But yeah, it's just what we're used to. I mean, even with Tenchi Muyo, I got so used to the dub with that one that it was kind of hard to go back into the Japanese subtitle version. So yeah, and even Cowboy Bebop is, I think Cowboy Bebop is a little easier for me because I think that was during that time where I was transitioning to it. But yeah, I mean, that's our experience with it, and it was fine. And yes, it was obviously when we started getting more into Japanese with English subtitles, the Japanese seiyus, that over time, I just got used to their acting.
Yep.
I got used to literally the culture of voice acting. The culture of voice acting in Japan is just so strong. Yes, I acknowledge that there's a lot of English dubbers or voices that are doing an incredible job. They're passionate about what they're doing. I just find that there's more consistency across the board when I listen to, Japanese, that they put a lot of effort into it. Like we always say, they're the Japanese version of our Hollywood. They're the stars. They're the ones that get all the gigs. They're the ones that are on the stage performances and stuff. People love their Japanese seiyuu. You sell a show by saying that it's got Rie Takahashi on or something like that. So yeah, there's that whole thing there. But yeah, getting into, do you watch most of it out of why now? So jumping to now, why now? Yeah, like you said, pretty much all the above. Obviously, it's going to be a case of you want to watch it now. You want to be in with a conversation. And if you wait for the dub, the English dub, you're going to have to wait a little bit. Now, there is, it's not very much, but there's a lot of stuff that's coming out now that is trying to get, mostly Netflix stuff. They're trying to get out the dub with it. They're holding the show until they can do a dub, and they release it all at once. And there's times where I watch, like Terminator here recently. I watched a lot of it in English dub. Partly is because I wanted to see how the quality of that was. Plus, Timothy Olyphant, for some reason, was voicing the Terminator. So I'm like, cool, Timothy Olyphant. Now, granted, I didn't know until the very end because he barely talks.
Oh, really?
It's at the very end, suddenly out of nowhere, the Terminator's talking a bunch. And I'm like, that's one, it fits. But two, it's like, he's so subtle. Like, he's just like, it almost sounds like he just doesn't want to be there. But then I'm like, but that's technically the Terminator. The Terminator's not going to be like, hey guys, how's it going? You know, like super like inflections and uppy and emotional with his voice. He's just kind of like, hey, this is what's going on. Or what are you going to do? And it's like, okay, it totally works. But yeah, it was like a back and forth. And technically, I forgot her name already. The female, the nanny was Your Forger's Seiyu. So it was like, okay, there's that mixture. There's always that mixture back and forth. I mean, I had the same problem with what's that called? something killer, romantic killer. I thought that the dub in that one was good, but I kept going back to the Japanese because Rie Takahashi. So it's like I can't do the dub. Like every time I want to try it, it's like, or the English dub, it's because I want the seiyus that I've loved. I think they're fantastic performances.
I get stuck on just, and I know that I've always been kind of harsh on it, but the English voice acting to me is just not working in a lot of cases. To me, it just sounds overly dramatic, overdone, it doesn't feel natural. Whereas in a lot of cases, the Japanese dubs do. And I always get so much backlash for it. It's just my opinion. I don't care if you like it. If you love it, go for it. I'm happy that you have your daggum dub. And I always end up getting a backlash because of it. But it is what it is. But yes, I that's my biggest issue is I don't care for it. I don't like it. And so I tend to just go back over to the Japanese dub. And I get that situation every time I try, because everybody's all, oh, the American voice acting on this one is fantastic. And I go give it a shot and it doesn't work. I heard it the other day with, I set up, somebody so that they could watch ReZero in English dub. And it was, Subaru saying something and it was like, I guess I can see it because Subaru is a goofball, but it sounded stupid. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not watching this right now.
That touches on a point because I think it was Ira on the Discord was pointing out to somebody, or maybe it was one of us, the idea that sometimes you can. Their point of view was that when it comes to English dub, the problem is that Japanese characters are often cringy, and so when you hear it in your native language, it makes it even more cringy. I don't necessarily agree with that, just because the one big stopping point that I always have with a lot of Japanese versus English dub itself is that with the Japanese seiyus, especially the female seiyus, they can pull off a more younger voice. It's just that's just how they're built. That's just how Japanese built. They're more prone to having a more cutesy and higher pitched voice that can actually facilitate a younger character. And yes, let's face it, a lot of our anime is young characters. So when I go over to the English dub, when I'm in the Japanese dub, it's like I can hear the character. They're pulling off the age of the character. Then I go to the English dub, and it's literally like I can hear a 40-year-old trying to be a kid. It's just like, again, how we're built, how a lot of these people are built is that you can hear that gruffiness. You can it's almost like, I don't know, listen to like a 70-year-old smoker trying to act cutesy. It's like you could hear that gruffiness. You can hear that gut in there. And it's like it doesn't work for this cutesy little character here. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't. All I can hear is an adult acting like a child. I mean, like it was like here recently, the one that I ran into was the sister in Makane. There was that whole scene where it sounded okay, but it was when she got excited. It was like that was whole scene where with the very first scene that we had with the sister really is the one where she was making the food for him, and then he says something about somebody's making food for me, and then she gets all excited and jumps on his lap. It was like, it was fine up until the point that she got excited and jumped onto his lap, and then suddenly I was like, oh god, no, this is not working. I'm sorry. Once the excitement kicks in, that you can hear that gruff, and it's like now it's ruining it. Like suddenly, bam, right there, I'm out of the illusion of this. So it's always been the case. I think, yeah, for sure, the necessity of watching it subtitles is to get the quickest, especially covering anime, obviously. Yeah. Not so much an issue for Chris, but for me personally, yeah, it's going to be that. But it's always going to be a preference for me. Again, I just think that they pull off the voices better. They pull off the acting better. I don't necessarily agree with the idea of highlighting the cringiness of the characters, because there's a lot of shows that I watch that the characters aren't being cringy, and I can't stand Now, I will admit to that point, I will admit that there's a lot of shows that are more serious that I'm not bothered by it as much. So I guess there is a point there.
Well,
but it's not the whole picture.
Even the characters who are supposed to be cringe, most of the time
that was like, yeah,
like,
Subaru.
There's characters like him, Beetlejuice.
But see, I find Subaru in general
guy from-
cringy.
Huh?
So, but in general, I find Subaru to be cringy. That's his character.
Well, my point was more along the lines of it doesn't feel like it's over exaggerated to a point, I guess is the best way to put it. Like I'm my automatic thought was the character from Sagaga.
Yeah.
He does it, and he just that you're talking super cringe character.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off, and it's so fantastically done. I almost need to see it in English just to see how that would even translate to an Americanized version.
There's also the aspect that in a lot of cases I almost feel like just because of these certain situations where I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm not getting the proper story either.
Yeah.
Great example, Oshinoko. There was a whole sequence where Akane puts on that persona and walks in that room from the first season. It's like the dub clip that I love throwing out there when it comes to Oshinoko. It's that, man, I'm tired. Ah! Oh, the camera's ready? Let's go. And it's like, they failed. Like, the context of this scene failed. Because the whole idea behind this character is what she once was. Then she studies up on I. And then suddenly, she flips that switch and she becomes I. The context is lost when you're not there before with a different persona and then coming into something else. I felt in that sequence nothing to do with the actress. The Seiyu, the English voice actress, this is nothing against her. I'm sure she was just told, you're doing this, here's a line, read it. The problem is I find that there is times here, there was another one here recently that I forget what it was. I think there's times when the inflection and the job they do with the voice, what they're doing with their voice matters. There's a story element behind it. And I felt that was a prime example of somebody didn't get the word to the voice actress because she didn't do what that scene does. So I almost feel like sometimes there's a deeper plot element that's being missed. Not that you don't get that, because you see the big freaking eye. You see her eyes, you know exactly what's happening with her character, but you miss the impact of how much she changed based on the fact that she still sounds the same before and after. So that's another element that I almost feel like sometimes you might miss the uniqueness in their voices that technically tells a story. I don't know if Days of My Stepsister's getting an English dub, but I would imagine this recent episode 9, there was 2 points throughout that episode where you can hear in the actress's voice, and the actor, Yuta had a scene too, where you can hear a change in their tone based on what's happening at the time. Oh, suddenly you realize Yuta is a little bit defensive about the situation because he doesn't want to give the wrong impression. Okay, you can hear it. Is that gonna come across with the? Because I caught it in the Japanese. Is it gonna be catchable in the English dub? Don't know. I don't know. They're more tied in, and that makes sense too, right? Because with the Japanese seiyus, they're more in line with what needs to be done to tell the story.
Yeah,
they're right there with the directors and everybody to do a proper job with it. Whereas over here, it's the ADR. The director is going to be handling all that stuff, and if they don't get it, they're going to miss it. Because they're probably working on 5 different projects.
Yeah.
Are they going to catch it? Are they going to catch what they need to do in this particular scene to nail it? Or are they going to say, here's a line, read it. Okay, what do I do? He looks a little happy on the video. Just make him happy. Are they happy? Or are they hesitant? Are they conflicted right now, but they're hiding it?
Did they have the time to go and research the project?
Yeah, the role.
Do they care to research the project?
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to say it that way.
But it makes sense. And not that it makes it right, but it makes sense. What else? Was that everything? Convenience, yes, convenience. Necessity, vocation. Do you want to follow in reviews? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so we got everything there. What the fan art thanks for bringing this up. That way people can yell at Chris. Mm-hmm. Even though I said pretty much the same thing.
Because I'm a sub purist.
Because I said the same thing. I try. But at the same time, no, it's always going to be sub better. Sorry. Japanese seiyus are just way better. All All right, TCB. Let's move on to TCB. Says, listening to your new podcast as of this post, which was that would be, what, three months ago? We're not that bad. And Chris brought up never having ramen, which leads me to this. What's the one Japanese dish either of you would love to try first if given the chance? Ramen.
Ramen.
He just literally said it. You're asking the question that we already haven't. Is there any? I don't think there's really anything else Japanese that I'm like, I mean,
I've had curry,
probably
so.
what's the
Did I make curry for you too?
We've had it a couple times. I would like to try takoyaki. Like real takoyaki. That would be interesting as well.
The fish thing. The red bean paste.
Balls, yeah. No, the balls. Oh, you're talking about that.
Yeah, I'm talking about the fish things with the red bean paste in it.
Or their version of karaage would be good. I mean, we have karaage technically as fried chicken, but some of the shots that you get of karaage in Japanese is like, holy crap, is it really look that good?
They use panko on it instead of...
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense why it looks different. That would be good, too. But yeah, just authentic ramen, I think you can't really beat that desire. That's just something that's... You've done it. You've done regular noodles over here, and it's like, but it's it's nowhere near that. Like just fresh. They roll it out there. They're cutting it. They're putting in they put it in the basket and everything. That pure. Go in the stalls. You got that big line. You're going in the stall, and everybody's waiting for you to get done. The whole authentic experience. There you go. Yeah. Or Japanese KFC would be interesting as well. Like, why does it cost that much? Is it better, or is it just limited time rack up that price? From what I understand, it's good, but it's definitely just a tradition they're ripping people off on.
I would like to try some of their cakes and stuff like that, because they're a lot more we're so inundated with sugars and stuff like that I would assume I would probably find their pastries and stuff like that a lot more enjoyable, because I've gotten to the point with me cutting out sugars and stuff. I find our stuff too sweet, so I can see that their stuff would be. I
wonder if they use a lot of fondant. It just a lot of the stuff looks like it's just like covered in fondant.
Probably,
I'd imagine so, but I don't think I've ever seen them actually using it.
From what I understand, they're a lot more interested in getting to the flavor and magnifying the flavor rather than just inundating it with sugar and stuff like that.
I don't know if I ended up including this in that last podcast. We did answer this question, but I think I cut it. But just to make sure, Kuro Ilya Enjoyer says, if you could only have one beverage for the rest of your life, what would you choose? I said Dr. Pepper, because obviously Dr. Pepper is the best drink ever. Best soda ever. But it would have to... But I can't... I've literally chosen not to drink Dr. Pepper anymore because I had to get rid of it in order to lose weight. I lost a lot of weight from that. So I can only drink no sugar ones. But if it didn't affect me at all, I would drink Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper is pretty much my go-to. I have since kind of cut a lot, like I said, a lot of sugars out. I'll occasionally dabble in a zero sugar soda here and there. Usually it's A&W or Dr. Pepper, obviously, but I tend to just drink soda water. I got soda water over there.
Soda water.
Gudako
says, are you worried the silent majority normie fans are going to shut out more of the hardcore fans? That is a very deep question. I figure we might answer it really quickly whenever I think we're going to take a while to answer it. But yeah, do you think the silent majority normie fans, are going to shut out the more hardcore? I'm guessing you're just meaning, do you think the normies in general, which is going to be accounting for probably like 99% of people subscribed to Crunchyroll, is going to be the people that are watching My Hero Academia, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and the big shonens? Are you thinking one day they're going to shut out the more hardcore fans? Now, I guess this could be taken in two different directions here. I would to expand on this to make it a little bit more easier to answer. Let's say, do you think the idea of the majority that is watching those will eventually one day take away the fandom from the hardcore fans that watch a bunch of different shows, or the more crazy shows like Gushing Over Magical Girls? Or I guess on top of that is probably more in the idea of, do you think anime itself will be catered more to the shonen fans that eventually the hardcore fans lose what they like?
My brain goes into a question to question the question.
So you're going to dodge it by throwing it back at me. Good job.
Well, actually, it would be Godaku. Are you sure?
Well, let's get Godaku on the line right now.
Right? Are you sure that the hardcore is the minority? By all accounts, the stats say that you are correct. However, I don't think it's as simple as that, because while if you're going by, like Andrew had said, the obvious statement would be, okay, the shonen bros are the majority. I don't think that's quite accurate. I think it's a lot more nuanced and complex than that, in the fact that the more hardcore are interested in different things. They don't necessarily mesh in the way that, let me put it this way. I enjoy Naruto. Andrew enjoys Naruto. But we may not like, I may like Monogatari. He doesn't like Monogatari, but he likes Spice and Wolf. But I don't like Spice and Wolf. So maybe our fandoms won't necessarily mix. However, there's always going to be Naruto. Now, we may or may not consider ourselves a shonen bro because we like Naruto, but we acknowledge Naruto is kind of this entry level thing. My point, if you're not following my kind of mindset, all these little fandoms that are considered, that they may consider themselves hardcore otaku, are not necessarily considering themselves a shonen bro. But we like shonens. We all pretty much like shonen. That goes to my greater thing of, are you sure that just because not everybody is watching all these shows, that automatically means that they're not the hardcore? Does that make sense?
You're saying there's overlap.
There's a lot of overlap.
So the person that likes Day with My Stepsister probably also likes Naruto, while also the person that doesn't like Days with My Stepsister that likes Naruto might also like, I don't know, Gushing Over Magical Girls.
Right. And my point being is, while it does look like the shonen bros are just this massive thing that's not necessarily the hardcore, and they're the quote-unquote silent majority, maybe it's not as it seems. While, yes, there's a lot of people who watch shonens and only shonens, I'm sure that they've got a lot of money in their pocket, and they don't care about that they haven't watched any other anime in the library. Not necessarily. The illusion is that there's just this massive group that might, like he's saying, shut us all out. I don't necessarily think that is quite as it seems. There's something there that I don't think is quite reflecting what is reality. But I do think that us as a quote-unquote minority, it's not necessarily that we are the minority. I think that we are a lot larger than we realize. We're just so fragmented and shattered. And if we can ever figure out our differences and stop bickering amongst ourselves, we might realize that we'll have a lot more power than we actually do.
Come together. Chris is going to make a speech about coming together very end.
All right.
To answer my own question on the idea of the possibility of, I guess, Crunchyroll. Say for instance, one day Crunchyroll says, look, like I was mentioning that one time where they had that conference and they were talking about how their subs shot up by like 8 million. They went from like 5 million to 13 million, and they literally contributed to that growth. Again, over 100% increase in subs. to just one show, Demon Slayer. They said Demon Slayer. Like, literally, we jumped up 8 million subs for Demon Slayer. I do believe there is we were joking about before, and I would really love to see their stats. It's like, I just have a feeling that if you looked at their viewership counts, it's probably like 99% of their viewer count is the current shonen. Like, right now, it would be My Hero Academia. I don't think My Hero Academia is really going to pull people in anymore. I feel like it's dropped off. Not the show's dropped off. I feel personally, yes, I don't care for the show anymore. But I think, like, for the general fandom, I think it's kind of come down quite a bit. But yeah, things like Demon Slayer, Jujutsu, those shows are probably banking them with, like, massive views. That's why the site literally crashes every time, say, an Attack on Titan comes out. That's where the viewership is. That's when everybody suddenly hits the servers, and the servers that are typically set up to, manage a certain amount of people, suddenly out of nowhere, the shonen show hits, and the servers are getting overloaded. I don't think that we'll ever get to see a case where, to my question, that Crunchyroll will be like, well, if this is the thing that's getting all the views, why are we licensing all this other stuff that's getting just like 100 views or something like that when this is what's pulling people in? I don't think they'll ever not cover that stuff and shut out everything else, because there's a problem with trying to get any way possible to pull people in. You have to kind of broaden what your availability is to the broader audience, because one, it creates this sense that there is a lot of content there, and at the same time, if they did just have the latest shonen and that was the only thing, nobody's going to sub to their network just for that one shonen. I mean, there's a lot of people that are subbing just to watch those shows, but there is a value idea here that they're going to be losing if they suddenly just go, well, all we have is the current shonen. So right now, the last 2 seasons, all they have on their website is literally My Hero Academia. Everything else is off the site. They have to create a value to a broader audience. I do technically agree with you in the idea that, yes, you do have a little bit of overlap there, and it does create this idea that not only is a lot of people just watching the shonen, they might be watching one other show with it. And so, again, you want to create that value idea with the website itself and having multiple things. Will it ever affect Japan? I don't think so, because we're talking obviously from a Crunchyroll standpoint or a Western standpoint. I don't think it'll ever affect Japan, just because there's value to it outside of the majority. And with a lot of these properties, they are creating a lot of networks, and they're creating a lot of shows for different networks. These networks want to have these shows. It's bringing people in for ad revenue. There's different merchandising and whatnot they're creating. And yes, a lot of stuff outside the shonen shows are selling buko's amount of merchandise, especially the cutesy girls and the harem shows. That stuff's selling massive amounts of merchandise on the side. Like Gushing Over Magical Girl here recently. Yeah, you're probably not going to have Gushing Over Magical Girl stuff selling very well in the West. You're going to have Jujutsu Kaisen or Dragon Ball Z. But in Japan, there's Gushing merch that's selling like crazy. So from a Japan standpoint, yeah, they're still bringing in that stuff. They're still broadening what they're investing into and what they're adapting, and thus this stuff is not going to affect it. But Western standpoint, yeah, there's still that fear that they're going to eventually cut back on licensing a lot of this stuff, but I don't think it's really going to happen. But at the same time, I get a person's mindset that has that fear that what, like we were talking about last time with the whole Jujutsu Kaisen thing, with the idea of animes dying, that sense that from a loud populace of the normies, the shonen bros, are going to be causing some sort of conflict with the anime industry by saying, why is all this other crap on this website? I just want my Jujutsu Kaisen. I just don't think it's really affecting everything. And every time I do see people crop up that say things like anime's dying because Jujutsu Kaisen's not airing, they're usually shut down pretty quickly because everybody else is enjoying plenty of other stuff. It's like that whole joke with the people going, let me enjoy my anime. And the guy's like, but where's Jujutsu Kaisen? Let us enjoy what we're doing. Go away. We're enjoying our days with my stepsister. That kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm on the mindset that I don't think that it hasn't changed yet. It's not going to change. There's nothing that's going to cause any sort of problem. I will say there is a fear that I have that comes with the increased popularity of anime, but that's a completely different discussion. And that's the idea that, like, as Jujutsu Kaisen gets bigger, as Demon Slayer gets bigger, Crunchyroll, again, jumping up massive amounts of sub, there is a massive fandom that's coming in for these shonen shows, there is a fear that creates a spotlight on the anime industry. So you do have the people that are going, you have the different, websites and whatnot that are going, hey man, all the kids right now are talking about this Demon Slayer. What is this about? And they go over to Crunchyroll. Oh, they watch it on Crunchyroll. Let's go check it out so we can talk about it on this news article. And then they see popping up on their screen, some ecchi show, and they're like, oh, they watch stuff on this website and there's this stuff on it. And then it brings a spotlight to the entire industry. So as anime gets popular because of shonens, everybody looks at everything else. Huh?
How many Dateline and Vice reports have we gotten so far?
Right. The popularity of the anime as it gets bigger, which has nothing to do with that populace of majority normie fans. The bigger problem really is just the spotlight that's being created on the anime industry because it's growing in so much popularity. So that's the suckier part, because then we have to deal with stupid articles that want to talk about how our fandom is bad. Yeah, that wasn't that long to answer that question. Misaki fan says, do you think new people are intimidated by anime or the anime community due to use of anime terms? I'm guessing by anime terms, they mean things like siscon, tsundere, or the CUNNY name that I'm sure the YouTube doesn't like hearing. I don't know. I don't think that there's really... I don't think I've ever run into a case in my... I mean, we made a podcast at some point explaining terms, but I don't think I've ever ran into a case where it seems like they're off-put or intimidated by it.
No, it seems to be slightly odd when you try to explain it. But we've talked about the idea of the culture shock problem, but explaining it to them doesn't necessarily turn them off. It's the too many things that seem off as far as what their tolerance level for. At what point does that switch flip of, okay, this is just weird? When somebody's open to it, you just have to be careful of that switch accidentally getting flipped, I guess. Yeah,
like I said, I don't think terms is an issue.
The terms
but
are not
I think the statement of saying intended by anime itself, or the anime community, I guess that's the question mark there. I do see people intimidated by the anime community, and that's like we've said several times before. That's not an anime problem. That's just fandoms in a general. That's a problem across the board. Every community you get into, there's going to be those people that are just creating an issue for people to get into the fandom. The whole idea of gatekeeping and whatnot, not allowing people to come in from the outside, even if they come to the door and they say, "What is this creepy stuff you got in here?" Say, "Come on in, let's check it out." That's what needs to be said, rather than immediately going, "Oh, you're a tourist, get out of here." Like immediately frying them. Be a little bit more, I guess, clear on what you're doing, and don't immediately shove them away. Don't be completely on the offense the moment that somebody comes to the door. But yeah, I can see that being the gatekeeping or the community itself being a little bit of a factor there. But at the same time, there is an element of that it's just inherently with the property you're talking about. If there is something that is a little bit more questionable in the content itself, there's no amount of not being a gatekeeper is going to keep them from getting there. They might use that as an excuse to run away from it, but in the end, it's still going to be the content of the show itself. But yeah, the anime, and that goes into the anime itself, is just, that's always been there. It's always going to be there. The anime itself being a thing that intimidates people is always going to be there. Whether it be the episode count, it be the structure, it be the comedy itself, the humor, the style, ecchi, all that stuff is always going to be a thing that's going to be an intimidating factor. And it goes back to what we talked about with that entire podcast, talking about how to bring in newcomers into anime, like starter anime type of podcast that we did, where it is, a little bit of kind of knowing what you're going to suggest based on what the person likes, or technically how open-minded they are. You don't, if your friend has done nothing but watch, the cleanest of clean shows, and they want to be invited into anime, you're not going to give them gushing over magical girls. You're not going to give them Immoral Guild. You're not going to give them, High School DxD or something like that. You're going to give them something a little bit more easy to come into. If they're really into, I don't know, period piece dramas, you're going to give them Shogun Roku Raku Shinju. If they're into action-packed stuff, you're going to give them Cowboy Bebop. But at the same time, like we mentioned there, don't give them everything good. You gotta don't just keep giving them all these crazy things that are legendary anime, like give them all Shitoshi Cons. You gotta every now and then sprinkle something in there that'll kind of open the door up to be a little more comfortable with, yes, anime's more goofy side. the more deep otaku side of everything. Because otherwise they're going to get past all those legendaries and goes, but I hate anime in general because this is what it, as many of good taste would say, real anime. Not that Shikoshi Kan is not real anime, but like the deeper stuff, the dark web of anime, the stuff you don't tell your grandma about, that stuff. Yeah, like I said, I think it's in general. I don't think people are intimidated. There's nothing changed. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. Again, I think terms is probably unless there's something specifically you're talking about when you're talking about terms. Yeah, I don't think so. So, Kleptomanx. I hope I'm saying that right. It might be Kleptoman X, Dark Dex XX Dark. Just curious, you guys tend to read through some of the mangas before watching the anime. Have you ever gotten confused into thinking that you already watched an anime because you remember the manga, thinking that you've already watched it? No. I don't think I've ever had that problem.
Not necessarily thinking that I've watched it, more along the lines of I'm almost positive that I've read the manga at some point.
I've had that where I watch an anime and I go, I kind of recognize this first episode. Maybe I read the first volume and forgotten about it.
Yeah, this seems awfully weirdly familiar. I'm not sure, but yeah.
To provide some background, I normally wait until first 6 episodes of the season drops before I watch the anime choices. Then I wait until the rest of the season drops before completing it. That's weird. You're weird. No. Your first impression episodes help me out a lot when regarding to get a sense of which I may like more once I start viewing. In this instance, Mushoku Tensei has recently gotten to episode 18, probably 20 by now, season 2. So I started watching episode 14. Started because I stopped. Is there anything else in here? Or is it just explaining that? So I was wondering. So I was scratching my head and wondering if I got confused in having read Mushoku Tensei a couple of years back. Yeah, I don't think I've ever really experienced that. Like I said with Chris, I agree with the idea that sometimes you feel that familiarity there, but I'm very selective on what I actually read, so I don't really have a problem with like forgetting too much stuff. So
I'm not. I just go click this tag and start reading stuff.
Click and read. So. Godako says, did you know the main plot for Tenchi Muyo was mostly done in anime with OVA series 4 to 5, GPX season 2 OVA series? Have you seen the 2 new OVA series, and how do you feel about one character getting their character design updated in those 2 series? No and no. I didn't know that it was a split off with GPX, and no, I didn't know that. I haven't watched the new series. I really wanted to. Like, it was like their releases were kind of weird, and I don't think anybody picked them up. That was the other problem. Is like no legal site were picking it up.
That as well. It feels like it's all over the place. I really need to sit down and just break down what I'm supposed to watch on Tenchi. I miss it so much.
Yeah. I didn't really hear anybody talking big about it either. So there's a side concern that I have for getting back into Tenchi Muyo with those OVAs is that I heard nobody talking about it, nothing positive, no excitement, and I might be wrong on this, I almost got a sense from the PVs and the key art that they were just basically advertisements for regions.
That's the new stuff.
The new stuff, yeah, the OVAs. That's what they're talking about with the
GPX,
OVAs.
the whatever that was the Galaxy Police stuff.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. Not sure how much I watched, but yeah. There you go. BSL4 Frank says, in the past few years, there has been an anime movies being produced and screens. Were there any that you liked? Were there any that you disliked? There were that you prefer with a series? Are there any series that you prefer was a movie?
All right, say that again.
In the past years, have you seen any anime movie being produced and screened? Were there any that you liked? No, I can't remember the last time I watched a movie in theater, an anime movie, anyways. Again, like we keep saying, they're not really available around here unless we go like a long freaking distance to go watch it, like an 8-hour drive.
I thought you watched Pokemon.
Yeah, that was like forever ago.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
was like a teenager back then.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't even think I watched.
But no, nothing around here though.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything. So,
any series that you preferred, or any movie that you prefer to be a series, Silent Voice, I'm fine with it. Again, reiterate here, I was fine with the movie. Silent Voice was a beautiful movie. But yes, when it was first announced, I was concerned they were going to skip content. They did skip content. I felt it would have been perfect as a TV series.
Yeah.
Like lengthwise, it would have been perfect. But they chose to do a movie. Again, I still love it. I feel like when I watched the movie after reading the manga, I knew exactly what they skipped, and I was fine with it. And it didn't feel, watching the movie, like, okay, that doesn't... It was more... The only thing that I noticed watching the movie was, and yes, this could be because I knew it was skipped, is a sense of this character doesn't make any sense. Like, this character feels unfinished. And so that kind of comes from that. So, a series that I would prefer to be a movie. There was one here recently, and I forget what it was, and I was like, that would actually be perfect as a movie. But I've unfortunately forgotten what it was. Is there any series that you think would be perfect as a movie? Almost feels like the Cyberpunk one would probably have worked as a movie too. I mean, it was fine as a TV series, but it almost feels like it would work just as fine. That's a case where I think it worked just as fine as a movie. Not that it needs to be a movie. Now, there's some aspects of some shows wishing it to be a movie just so it has a better budget. Maybe better as a movie just to get a better budget for it, but yeah, I can't really think of any. I really can't think of any. Like, most cases, it's going to be a movie where I felt like a TV series would flesh it out more, really, is all it is.
yeah.
Like getting a Wolf Children TV series would have been cool. That actually would probably pace out very well.
Yeah, it probably would have had better breathing room.
Yeah.
Because I thought of that too, that Mamoru Hosoda would probably... A lot of his films would be excellent as series.
King Aaron says, with some recent anime being streamed by multiple services like Vinland Saga Season 2 was streamed on Crunchyroll and Netflix, Suicide Squad, Isekai was on Max and Hulu. Do you think there will be more anime being streamed by different companies instead of being exclusive to one streamer? That's typically a choice by whoever owns the license. In like the case of Vinland Saga and even Demon Slayer did this with that as well. It's basically Crunchyroll trying to offer content to other services. And what that does is, now with like Vinland Saga, that was technically a unique case. Actually, let me correct myself, because that was on both services at the same time, where there is some cases where Crunchyroll is essentially trying to put their stuff on like Netflix so that when the new series comes out, people are being drawn to Crunchyroll for the new episodes. I'm not sure if when Demon Slayer aired, if it was on Netflix as well, but I know that the previous seasons I think were on there, and that was genius, because then again, if they weren't co-streaming it on Netflix too, that means that people that were on Netflix that learned about Demon Slayer will then come to Crunchyroll to get the new season, which is absolute genius. Other cases, yeah, it's just strictly a case where they're trying to broaden the availability of multiple sources, and I think it's only a net positive, especially for a company like Crunchyroll that is all they are is that's all they offer is really anime. So if you can do anything to increase the fandom that is anime on other platforms, they will eventually come back to you. Again, there's no reason why they wouldn't want to put properties on Netflix just to pull people from Netflix over to them.
There's audiobook authors that are doing the same thing. They'll toss it on Audible and then take it to a different platform.
Yeah. But no, it really just comes down to who owns the property, Do they want more people getting a hold of it than just one service? Do they want to broaden the appeal to it? All that kind of stuff is there's multiple answers to it. I don't think any individual case where there is a property on more than one platform that it has there's no defined answer to all these cases. In a lot of cases, it really is just trying to get your stuff available elsewhere. With the case of like another good example is Crunchyroll, when they used to have Sentai Filmworks stuff, and you had High was existing at the time. In that case where you did have some of the properties going to Crunchyroll, it was really a case of them just trying to get their stuff on multiple platforms. It could have been Crunchyroll buying up those licenses, or at least co-streaming licenses, in order to have more content on their platform for their subscribers. Or it could be a case where Sentai Filmworks is giving it to them in order to get part of the revenue from it. So say if there is a property that is Sentai Filmworks on Crunchyroll and somebody streams it there on Crunchyroll, they will give a kickback to Sentai Filmworks because people essentially are subbed in there watching that particular show. So again, there's multiple reasons. I think what Crunchyroll was doing for a while there with branching out to Netflix is, again, a massive win for them. There's no way that is a negative for them. So I would hope that it happens more than once, but I don't expect much. Like the final question, do you think is going to happen more often? No. I think there's going to be test beds for it. There's benefits to it, but I don't think it's going to be a normality. I think for a lot of people that would be great to be a normality because they hate being subbed to multiple locations. Like I know that anybody doesn't. There's so many people that don't like the idea of having to have a High sub. I just know it. I don't blame people because you're subscribing to High. For majority of people for this season, it's to watch Oshinoko. Nobody wants to sign up for High to watch Plus Size Elf. Nobody's going to sub just for Plus Size Elf. And if they are, more power to you, but we're not talking about high quality visuals and storytelling here with with Elf. They're probably subbing or forcing themselves to sub to High Dive just for Oshinoko, which again sucks. I wish that they're. I mean, it is a good question mark. There is, could or would High Dive or Crunchyroll want to set something up with High Dive to gain rights to stream Oshinoko? I don't think High Dive would want to do it because that's all they have right now as a massive pull-in for subscribers. If they were to give that off to Crunchyroll, literally they would get no subs this season. So there would be no benefit to High Dive, but what could Crunchyroll offer to get it is a question mark. Or would they offer to get it? They probably don't think it's much of a threat. It's not like because people want to sub for High Dive, they're going to suddenly they're going to unsub from Crunchyroll in every offer they have with each season. So I don't know. We'll see though. I mean, again, I hope for the day that, yeah, you can go to High Dive and I don't know, like 50% of Crunchyroll's catalog is there. And if you go to Crunchyroll, 50% of High Dive's catalog is there. I would love to be able to watch everything that Sentai Filmworks has on Crunchyroll. It might be an eventuality if Crunchyroll ever buys out High Dive, which still hasn't happened yet. I had a friend who was massively convinced that one of these days Sony's going to buy High Dive, and I told him, I don't think they will. I don't think they want to. I don't think High Dive is a threat. I don't think they'll ever be a threat. So, I mean, that was that whole joke that we even made that joke. The idea that I wonder if AMC bought High Dive in hopes that Sony would buy it from them, just like they bought Crunchyroll from AT&T. It's like, nope. Not that
well, their chance to strike was right after AMC bought them out, and it didn't happen. Hopefully, they can stay afloat, but I don't have a lot of.
Last few seasons outside of Oshinoko seasons, the last few years has just been. It doesn't seem like they're trying very hard. I was super happy they got Immoral Guild. Super happy they got Gushing. They're literally turning into the group that grabs the uncensored, super ecchi stuff that I really like. But other than that, it's just they're barely doing anything. My hope was that after Oshinoko was so successful for them last year, that they would just pull out all the stops. And again, like I said back then, was grab a shonen. I know it's hard. It's very expensive, but you need to grab a shonen. You need to grab something big that's going to pull in a bunch of subscribers, not elves. Plus size elf. Okay, let's see. Anime themed Hawaiian t-shirts for sale when, says Korean Wizard. That's actually a really good idea. I doubt anybody would buy it though. Like that's one of those that's really clever, but who's gonna buy it? I mean, I know that a lot of people like my Hawaiian t-shirts. It became a thing at some point, and people get really mad when I don't wear the Hawaiian t-shirt now. Like lately, I'm just pretty much wearing it whenever I do my Mushoku Mondays. I don't want to steal that from the Mushoku Monday watchers. But it's like people get so mad whenever I change the t. There's two groups. There's the people that hate that I'm wearing the same t-shirt, and there's the people that hate it whenever I change the t-shirt. So it's like I can never win. All I can say is that I don't wear them regularly. I just wear them whenever I record, so they don't stink. I wash them regularly. But yeah, as fun as that sounds, I don't think anybody would buy them. I mean, none, and that's partly because the groups that the services that we use, like Teespring and whatnot. But it's like, as much as people want merch, nobody buys the merch. So everybody asks for the merch, and you get the merch, nobody buys the merch. Anyways. Kuro Ilya and Joyer says, which girl from Princess Connect Redive do you miss the most? Jeez, way to bring down the podcast. I love so many of them, but I still think about Maho all the time. Kyaru. Best cat girl. Always.
Pretty much. There seems like there was a character with a certain specific voice in there. But Tama was in there too.
You liked your crazy yandere.
The crazy yandere girl. And I was trying to remember. I think she was she Virgo's voice actress?
I don't know.
I know that I loved her. She was crazy and nuts. I loved it. She had the big sword.
I haven't. It's been so long since that game terminated that I just don't even remember really any characters anymore. But Kyaru always comes to mind whenever I think of this show. Eriko was the crazy yandere. Who else did I really like? No, what sucked is we almost had our next fest that was supposed to be coming up. That's what kind of made the whole shutting down of the servers just hurt so much more. I'm not sure if there was anybody else that was like I was super big on before it all shut down, but I missed all the girls. Let's be honest, I missed all the girls. Yeah, Chloe was a recent one that I really liked getting. Yeah, that. Thanks for reminding me that the game shut down. Thank you so much. Inori? No, it wasn't Inori. I know there's somebody else that I'm not thinking of it's the moment I edit this, I'm gonna immediately remember somebody. And I'm going to kick myself. It always happens that way, so. I miss Princess Connect Redive. Let's see. What will you do after you finish Mushoku Tensei light novel? I really hope to start reading light novels like ReZero. Like I always say, current ones are ReZero and Ascendance of Bookworm. I want to do Ascendance of Bookworm more because I like the series. I like ReZero as well, but I think ReZero is probably going to be better for the channel. So I'll decide last minute. Godako says, what classic series need a sequel or remake? We made a whole podcast on this, actually. We did a whole podcast on this one. Is there anyone that you remember off the top of your head, Chris?
No.
We did Claymore, Gunslinger Girl, Grimgar Fantasy, and Ash.
I think I deleted my...
Higeki Shoujo sequel would have been nice. Remakes of classics, though, that's a question mark. Berserk, I think, would be nice to just start over. Just start over. If they do it right. Just start over at this point. Just redo the whole thing and do it properly. Which now more than ever is probably a possibility. Really, honestly. I was saying that Chiki Angel needs a remake. I don't really like the old style of it. I really did enjoy it. We were talking about Tsukiyomi Moon Phase getting a remake. That would have been interesting. Magical Knight Ray Earth got an announcement for a remake, so that's happening now. Alita would have been nice. We were joking about the fact that Alita, like, the live action's doing it well now, and it feels like they're going to pass up the old adaptation. So that'd be nice as well.
The notes that I had Welcome to the Ballroom, Hinamatsuri, Land of Lustrious, Yona the Dawn, Gate, Seraph of the End, Mushishi, No Game No Life, Skip Beat, Fate Stay, Saber Route, Witch Hunter Robin, Flower of Evil, and Black Bullet.
The Minier says, what is a series old or new that aired that you wanted to see but never have due to it not being been translated?
Say that again. I missed that.
What series old or new that aired that you wanted to see but it never got translated? I don't think I really have anything that hasn't been translated. There's at least fan subs out there. Now, I will say there was a time where I didn't really care to go out of my way to find fan subs, and that was Hyoko. When Hyoko came out, nobody had it, and I didn't want to go out of my way to go get it. And then by the time it did get translated, I didn't have the time for it. But everything pretty much gets translated, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Godoko says, what's an anime that you would like to check out, the source material, but said source has no translation, legal or otherwise? I think the recent one, was... there was one here recently, specifically light novel, because I think all the mangas you can easily find somebody that has translated. Light novel is a little more difficult to find fan translations of sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there, but I think in some cases it's just like waiting for somebody to do it. Because it's going to be one of those cases where I know when I edit, I'm going to immediately remember it.
Well, mine has been Harem in the Labyrinth. It feels like it's in this stuck forever place.
Forever place.
Yeah, I guess the writer ended up getting published or something like that, so he's shifted over and redoing his entire series in light novel format, which seems to be doing all right, but it feels like it's taking forever to get back to where I was in the web novel. So, yeah. But that's really the only one that I'm kind of mainstay paying attention to.
Was it 80,000 Gold? No, 80,000 Gold was getting translated, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that they've started popping up on the audiobooks as well. One of them has.
Yeah, I'm not... To be clear, I'm not like somebody that goes out and actively searches for source material on everything that I watch, even if I do enjoy it, just because I don't really have the time. But I'm kind of like tallying up a list, and I think when it comes to the point where when I need another light novel or source material to read, I'll probably pop over to actually read it. So Misaki fan says, with reports going around that piracy of anime is going up, what do you think needs to be done to bring back to legal platforms? I don't recall there being a report that piracy of anime is going up. I would assume that it would go up with the increase of popularity of anime, so that I don't think that's really necessarily there's an odd correlation there, really. If the anime is getting more popular, obviously sites that are giving it pirated available is going to go up. Not necessarily that people are becoming more pirate oriented. But that didn't age well. that question in our Discord did not age well, because here recently a ton of anime piracy websites have suddenly went, we're sorry, we don't like doing piracy anymore. Go check out legal offerings. Yay. And they shut down. I haven't completely looked into it yet, but that is one of those kind of question marks of like, wow, why make a statement that things have gotten better and legal platforms let's go watch on those platforms is not typically something you get from somebody that is offering free anime illegally. There was a pretty much this big global move to shut down a lot of these piracy sites, and it seemed to have worked because a lot of the big ones have gone. So it looks like piracy has gone down a little bit. Not that there's not a million more websites for people to go to, but at least with a big majority of massive piracy sites, they got kind of shut down quickly, which, yes, to many people's response is, wait, you go to websites to stream? Why don't you just torrent, noob? real people that watch anime illegally get it from torrents. Come on, you get better quality, you custom subtitles, all this kind of stuff. So to the question, what needs to be done to bring people back to legal platforms? Again, that is assuming that people are flocking away from the legal sites for piracy sites. I don't think that's the case. Anybody that is pirating has always been pirating, and it's not like they've changed. It's not as if there's this big, massive exodus from using Crunchyroll or something to go watch it on piracy sites. It's just, again, there's an increased amount of people that are enjoying anime, and with that increase, a portion of them are going to be going to piracy sites. So there's no answer to how to bring them back. Nothing that Crunchyroll, nothing that Netflix can do, nothing they can do will bring people to their platform. It's always been a case of making it as easily available and as conveniently available as possible that people will pay for it just to get away from having to do piracy. The majority of fans are going to do whatever works for them. If they can easily torrent it, they're going to torrent it. But if you give them an easy way of consuming it without having to go through the trouble of getting a torrent program, finding the seeds or the torrents themselves and seeding it out and killing their bandwidth and all this kind of stuff, all they got to do is open up a Crunchyroll app and fire up the episode. That's convenience. You have to create convenience while at the same time having a stable platform that doesn't crash all the time. And yes, technically having everything that you want on that platform. Crunchyroll, as much as people hate them, Netflix, as much as people hate them, Redive, as much as people hate them, have done all bare minimums for that. There's nothing else they can do. Yes, there's a lot of little quirks about the Redive website that I really hate, and I wish they would fix it immediately because that was a bad update in that regard. They're doing the bare minimums. And everybody that says things like their website layout sucks, that's the excuse that you get from people that are pirating about things like the layout sucks, they don't let me select my subtitles. Those aren't things that are keeping them from subbing.
Yeah.
They just want to offer an excuse for pirating, when in actuality, they just don't want to pay for it. They just don't want to be honest that they just don't care to pay for it. Just be honest and say you don't want to pay for it. Just be honest that you don't want to go to highdive.com. Don't say because subtitles, because because those are just not things that are keeping people from subbing. It's almost like they almost want to make up excuses to push Crunchyroll on them to change things when they don't actually want those changes. They're just it's almost like they're trying to push them to make changes that they don't even care about.
And I actually absolutely agree with you, and I think that they double down on it. It's almost goofy, and don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely not. Crunchyroll is not in any way, shape, or form in my top 100 list. They're almost in the bottom of my bottom 100 list.
Yeah, and by the way, disclaimer, I don't care if you pirate. I don't know why I have to say that. I'm not your dad. I don't care that you pirate. It was so funny the other day. Somebody was like, wow, so you actually download anime? Well, yeah, I don't think I ever said that I didn't. Oh, I just never knew. Well, I covered uncensored versions of Onimai. I've been covering uncensored anime. I covered Blue Archive. It's like I've been doing it for a long time. I sub to all these platforms, by the way. But yes, I do download anime.
It's sad because we've always tried to steer people towards these companies because you should.
You want to support the anime.
You want to support it.
As much as people don't want to admit that your sub does go to anime. That chart that says anime licensing overseas is 50%, over 50% of revenue going in Japan for anime. That 50% is your sub. As much as people think that magical number of 50% of billions comes out of nowhere, that's your sub. I don't care if you don't think that your sub doesn't go down. They don't pay that out of their own pocket. Your sub is paying for that 50%. Anyway, sorry.
It's kind of frustrating that to know that every one of those little arguments that people make. I remember somebody going, "You're competing against free, and Crunchyroll does not understand this. You are competing against free." And so Crunchyroll put a free version where you could watch the ads. Then
they took that away.
Well, whether or not they took it away,
there's some shows they still let you do it. Yes.
There, as far as one of the complaints was that you had to go to 5 different places. Well, in some way, shape, or form, they're doing everything in their damnedest to get as many of the shows on their.
Yeah, I would say that Crunchyroll has like 45 a season, which is bonkers to think about. You're paying what, like $7? I think it's right now $7 a month for 45 times what, 3.5? You're getting like hundreds of new episodes every month for that money. You can't get that with Hulu. You can't get that with Netflix or anything. That's an insane amount of content.
For all of my qualms against them, they are doing what they say on the box. They're giving you a translation for these shows. It's frustrating that, I mean, I have to concede that. Now, whether or not I agree with what they're doing is irrelevant. They are technically doing what they say on the box. I do watch on Crunchyroll all the time. It is what it is. I do like the convenience factor of it. But at the end of the day, I do have my qualms with them. Does that mean that I think that everybody should start pirating? No, not really. I mean, we want to support them. Whether we agree with them or not, we still want to support the anime industry.
Yeah, and the odd thing is, like, going back to my argument about what they can do to bring people back, and like I said before, I don't think there really is anything. There's not like an exodus, and it's not as if there's anything that would bring it back if there was an exodus. The funny thing is to realize is that they have been doing everything they need to do, which is convenience factor. I think the big thing that Crunchyroll has done that I think no other platform really did, and I think you should be willing to, at least if you don't like them, give them credit for, is literally bringing us anime within an hour of it broadcasting in Japan. That was huge. I mean, going from back in the day where it took you upwards of a week just to get a new episode subtitled by somebody, now you're literally getting it within an hour. Come on, people. Are we not? I mean, do you not realize how good we have it now? And again, like I said, literally hundreds every month of free episodes, not free episodes, but new episodes of new shows every month for that sub. That's crazy. But again, I don't care if you sub or pirate. I really don't care. Let's face it, all these piracy sites, why do these piracy sites have it so quickly now? Because they have these systems that are literally these bot systems that will just rip the latest episode the moment it hits Crunchyroll and uploads it on their website. It's not as if these piracy sites are doing anything differently. And these people that claim these sites are better navigate and all this kind of... No, they're not. Again, stop making up these bullcrap arguments. These websites are not better built. They're full of crap spam and pop-ups. You have to have like 5 different settings to your pop-up blocker just to not get completely rootkitted out of nowhere. And their layout isn't that impressive. There's nothing about the layout of these websites that are any better than Crunchyroll. I think it's like this idea that it boggles my mind, the arguments that people make in order to justify it. Just say you don't want to pay for it. Just say you don't like Crunchyroll. It's crazy. Anyways, again, I don't care that you pirate. I really don't care. I know your daddy. BSL4 says, are you doing any collabs with Trash Taste? No. Jokes aside, as much as I really like Gigguk, I just don't see like Trash Taste as a whole really having much to talk about. I don't. If like tomorrow I got on Trash Taste, I would take it just because it would be a great opportunity to broaden the audience. But I would literally just want to talk to Gigguk about Mushoku Tensei. It's not like I would care to... I don't have anything against Connor. I don't have anything against Connor. I mean, he's just more in this voice acting that I'm aware of, and I'm just not into voice acting. Anime Man, I really have nothing to talk to him about. I honestly don't really... I've never cared for his content. Nothing against him as a person. Just never really was drawn to his content. Gigguk's the only person I think I would talk to. And I don't really have anything to talk to him about. So yeah, it'd be nice to... They would never give me time of the day. Let's be honest. Trash Taste would be one of those ones that if somehow the YouTube channel just somehow blows up to having millions of subs, then I'll probably get a text at some point. But they ain't gonna give me the time of the day. Mother's Basement. Again, I've never really messed with his content. I think I ran into one of his things at some point, and I didn't agree with him. That's not a bad thing. I didn't agree with him with the content of it, but I've never really consumed his content. And apparently, and I don't even want to talk about it. I was going to bring up something that people have pointed out that he said something that was offensive. I think it was something to do with Nekopara, and I don't know anything about it, so have any plans to collab crossovers with other anime podcasters and YouTubers? This is the general question here. The last one I did was Psychotrist with Mushoku Tensei. That was a lot of fun. For me personally, especially with like the YouTube channel, I'm very hesitant to do collabs. And it's mainly because, yes, let me say probably 50, it's probably a 50-50 thing here. 50% is because I just don't have the headspace for it. Like, I don't have the mental headspace for it, like to put it together, set it up, get everything put together for it, and do the process of the collab. The biggest unfortunate thing is there's very little benefit to it as well. Very rarely do I collab with somebody or we do an interview with somebody that people even care to look at it. It's unfortunate. Like when we did the whole thing with Peter, with J-List, nobody cared. It's like, do an interview with this one, do a collab with this one. Nobody cares. It's that the unfortunate thing is, like, I ran into somebody here a while back. This is probably about a year ago. I ran into somebody that said the same exact thing. They're like, we do interviews all the time and just nobody cares. And it's like, I don't understand what it is about interviews, especially, or collabs. It rarely gets attention. And again, with the amount of process to put it together, to not have much benefit from it or that people would even check it out, it really does mess with you when you put a lot of effort into something and it doesn't get traction, because it feels like everybody wants it. You do it, you put it all together, and then nobody cares. It makes you not question, do I listen to people when they say they want this stuff, because it doesn't seem like they want this stuff. Yes, obviously, collabs with bigger content creators is always a big thing, because you're hoping that you're going to help your channel grow by basically reaching up. Mm-hmm. Yes, you do want to reach down equally because you want to pull people up to where you're at the same time. Otherwise, you can't complain that people won't reach down for you. But there is this struggle that's always happening that sometimes, as much as people want this stuff, nobody cares. Interview these people, nobody cares.
There's also the aspect of one content creator...
mental bandwidth is what I was trying to think of.
One content creator or the other, while inadvertently or otherwise, they not necessarily intending it, but sometimes personalities do tend to flood out another personality. Mm-hmm. So, like me and Andrew, we've been doing this for so long. I can almost in a lot of cases, while I don't know exactly what Andrew's going to say, I can kind of piece together a direction our conversation would probably take. It's this weird. We used to do it a lot of times when we would pre-set up our podcast. We would kind of type out our outlines, and we could almost kind of feel how long the conversation would take because of how long the banter would go back and forth. It's just this. We've been working together for so long. Now, when it comes to somebody else, doesn't quite feel that way. You don't really know. You don't know how you're going to mesh with that person, and it's not necessarily them that's necessarily the problem. Like in a lot of cases, people have pointed out that Andrew talks over me a lot. I have gotten to a certain point where when me and Andrew banter back and forth, if I really feel like pushing back, Andrew will kind of back down. If Andrew feels like he's going to talk something up, I tend to back down. We've just gotten to the point where we understand each other's buttons. So we kind of just mesh well together. It's not necessarily that Andrew's more vocal. If you listen to a lot of the older ones, I was a lot more vocal in some cases. So
Chris is always half asleep anymore, so that's why he doesn't talk much more.
I'm a lot tired. So, but yeah, it's a banter, and we understand how each other works. Other people, we don't. That's
the sad thing that I ran into with Psychotrist is when I got done talking to him, I'm like, I'm sorry I talk too much. I'm just so used to podcasting with my brother, and I always feel like I have to carry the podcast that I never shut up because I'm always afraid of dead air because I edit my podcast. So I hate dead air because I have to edit every time there's dead air. So even like whenever I'm with Chris, it's like every now and then he'll have those I know when he's thinking, and I'm always gauging, should I jump in to carry it while he's thinking, or will I mess him up? It's always like this balancing act. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. I was rambling, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think whether or not I'll jive with somebody doesn't matter to me as much, just because if I want to work with somebody, that my thing is, and I was going to get to it eventually, was I only want to collab with somebody when I just feel like I want to talk to them. And this is nothing to burn against anybody that has contacted me about wanting to do collabs. Again, most of it is that 50%, which is mental bandwidth. Do I have the mental bandwidth to sit there and set it up and figure out what time and day to do it? Again, scheduling is a big part of it. There's a lot of it that is that 50%. The other 50% is really just kind of, there's a struggle that honestly does come with who you collaborate. And this does play into the mental bandwidth part of it, who you collaborate with, because some people, and I'm not too concerned with this, honestly, there's some people that will try to connect everything that person does to you. So if you do run into somebody that you're like, yeah, I would like to talk to that person, but then you look at their feed and they're just kind of, they're baiting people into arguments. They're trying to start up drama. They like to post a lot of leaks. They like to spread misinformation. It's like you kind of have a difficulty with wanting to associate with certain people, which again, this is like the least of my thing, because I really don't care. Because if somebody comes up to me and says, oh my gosh, did you hear that psychoculturist? He said this. I'm going to say, okay, but you had him on your podcast, or you had him on your YouTube. You posted your interview with him on your YouTube channel. But that's what he said. I don't care that he said that. That doesn't, it's not as if I'm supporting everything they've ever said just because they're on their podcast. I just want to talk to him about anime. Again, so that's like the least of the whole thing there. But there is, again, part of that sort of does, getting pulled into people's drama, I think, is the bigger part of it.
Yeah.
So if you do associate with somebody and then suddenly they start causing drama, and then you kind of get pulled in with it. And there is that, again, not that I'm going to ever say that dictates who I want to have on the podcast, or I want to do a video with or a collab with. It's just, again, that's another one of those mental bandwidths that I don't have. I'm so focused on building the channel, and I haven't seen enough benefit from collaborating. I'll do collaborations when I want to do it. Again, I had way too much freaking fun with Psychoculturist, and I'm going to do it again just because I like talking to the guy. But I'm not going to, it's very difficult for me to branch out there and just give it a shot, because it's too much. Sometimes it's just too much to have to think about, that I just don't have that bandwidth to do it. And again, I feel bad, because I feel like some people really badly want this stuff. I wish it reflected more on the views and the listens and the feedback. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Most of the time, people just don't really care. But I'll still do more stuff around, especially Mushoku Tensei, just because I really enjoy talking to people about that. But I really do want to get on Psychoculturist again and not... I don't want to talk as much next time. Granted, I was on his live stream, and I think he was goading me to keep talking, because he wanted me to talk to his viewers. It makes sense that if somebody were to come onto our podcast, it's not like I'm gonna not want them to talk, because people are gonna want to hear this new person that's on the podcast. So it makes sense that way. But I want to pick his brain more. I wanted to go on his thing and pick his brain. There's a few other people that I have in my DMs right now that want to do, especially since I did the thing with Culturist. A couple people are kind of chiming up, hey, can we do something too? It's like, yeah, sure. Again, when my mental bandwidth has some space, it's just, again, very difficult to do that. But yeah, I don't want to mention any of the names, because I don't want to give people the impression that's happening when it might not happen, and it's difficult to really set up. So I don't know. Maybe one of these days when I get super big, we'll do more. I think it's going to come to a point where I actually it gets big enough that I can have somebody else handle it for me, which I'm nowhere near close enough to being able to do that. But I would love a day when somebody just kind of goes, okay, Andrew, yes, Mr. Andrew, welcome to the office. Here, Mr. Andrew, sit down here. We have Billy's on the screen right here. You're going to talk to him about I don't know, gushing over magical girls. And then I'm just like, okay, cool, let's go. Hey, what's up, guy? Let's talk about gushing. Like, they handle everything. And then when I'm done, I get up and they go, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Here's your coffee. Have a great day. And I just walk out the door into my Ferrari or something. I don't know. I don't know why I said Ferrari. I don't care about having a Ferrari. I just wanted to give the impression that I'm a big shot. And I walk into an office, I sit down, and everything's handled for me. And then I go home for the day.
Yeah, right.
I go out the front door and I jump onto my yacht, and then my yacht just goes down the street because somebody's pulling it on a trailer apparently because there's no water. I don't know. Maybe there's water in front of my office. It's a beachfront office where I do all my anime podcasting and video recording.
Have a cute anime girl that's peddling it for you.
I will have gotten the first editions of genetically created cat girls. Mm-hmm. Or just the next best thing, which is a girl wearing cat ears. And her ears are cut off. Cat girls with regular human ears or without?
Without.
Yeah, it's gotta be without. It's weird with it. I mean, it's fine. It's not like I'm gonna say no, get the hell out of here. You got regular human ears. It's just a preference. It's like there's all those genetically created cat girls out there that still have their human ears. Are like, oh, Chris doesn't like me. I was just about to email Chris about how I wanted to hang out with him, but he doesn't like the human ears. They're all out there with their butcher knife going, oh, they don't like my regular human ears.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I mean, what's the point of having the human ears if they have the cat ears already? Unless the cat ears are for looks.
I don't know. I don't think they realize it when they do it, when they draw them on there. So
I don't think they really think. I don't think I've ever actually seen them with human ears, but
I've seen it a couple times. I don't remember. It's
probably AI.
Yeah. Well, no,
the AI got confused.
It was a long time ago. Like I said, I don't think they realize it.
I think it's because there's a character that is wearing cat ears, and they just let the ears show, so you get that double effect. I'm pretty sure there's probably cat girls out there that have the human ears as part of their biology. I don't know. It is technically an oddity because if you think about it, if they didn't have like crazy hair going off the sides, you would technically see like this flat surface on the side, and it kind of looks weird. Like it's that oddity about seeing the cat ears up here, but the side of the heads are just kind of flat and no ears on it. So it does kind of make you wonder. So they typically have like a lot of hair on the bangs and stuff like that, or the sideburns, just to kind of cover it up. That's a weird tangent. Again, I think if you're a cosplayer, please don't cut off your regular ears, by the way.
That might be a more viable reason than mine, where I just think that they just accidentally didn't realize what they were doing. But your reason might be more viable. They just don't know what to put there when there is no ear.
It's AI. It's got to be AI.
Nah.
I blame AI for any weird oddity now. I think that's all we're gonna do for the day. Is there any other quick one? We had the question also, who would you consider to be, this is BSL4 by the way, who would consider to be the Michelle Yoeh of anime?
Oh, I didn't know what.
I don't even know. I know based on Googling, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know what that means of anime. Like a really good character or a very, I don't know what they specifically do that's unique that I would equate it to, I guess the problem. I don't know. Anywho, let me mark this one and then we'll see what we got here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. We have 4 questions left. That's bad. I think 4 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. We have 4 questions left, so we're in trouble. So, and you can put your questions in the Discord in the submit questions channel that's under the Otaku Spirit anime category. You can submit your questions there. Don't talk over there.
Don't answer questions. That is for us to answer.
What the fan art? I see what the fan art answering that question about who's the best anime blue-haired girl or boy. bad with the fan art. Don't answer questions there. Don't chat there. There's so many other channels to chat in. You don't have to chat. Ask question thread area. If you want to discuss the questions, post elsewhere. But anyways, that's where to put them. And then hopefully within 4 months, we'll answer your question. Because we do have technically... Shoot, when is it? This is scary. I would assume probably in 2 weeks we'll do our preview for the fall anime season. Next week I'm going to have to maybe get a topic or something like that to go with. And then it's just going to be crazy after that. So, I don't know. I guess we have technically 2 more opportunities to answer some questions. So, we'll see. But after that, again, it's going to go in the first impressions and all that kind of stuff. And then it's going to be wow. Anyways, that's where that is. Again, if you're on YouTube, I put the link to this the Discord in the description. If you're on podcast of choice, it's going to be in the description there as well. Or you can go to otakuspirit.com. It's there. Twitter.com or x.com/otakuspirited, ED at the end there. I have the link there, but definitely check us out there. Greatly appreciate you guys dropping by, listening to this podcast episode. I hope you guys got some good insights into us with these hard-hitting questions, especially how much Chris hates dubs, English dubs specifically. But until next time, hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, I'll take care.
Os.